ladies and gentlemen, the real tragedy is that the future of Europe is being poisoned by the propagation of false and unfounded suspicions. For instance, the German people is being drenched day and night by assertions that Great Britain is planning to encircle her.
What a worrying time it is at the moment in Europe. We went yesterday, my husband and I, to get our gas masks fitted. Oh, I'm so glad the first one I tried on fitted fine. I shouldn't fancy having to try any more than the one on, especially as someone else may have breathed really heavily into it. Someone did try to make light of the situation though, as they'd labelled the room to the Chamber of Horrors gas masks. Not a pleasant time. The whole world is aghast at the arrogance of Hitler. And Mr. Morrison in Parliament has suggested that we should be thinking about putting away an emergency store of food. Last week I bought this very small booklet from town, which is published by the British Medical Association. It's called How to Stock Your ARP Larder. I've just been reading this before I go to bed. Although hoarding food would be a terrible thing to do, this does give very good reasoning of why we should be buying some tinned and dried food at the moment, foodstuffs that will last a while. It says to buy now is not to hoard. The government has advised all who can to lay in a week's store of emergency food. If you make your purchases now, you will be adding to the nation's food reserves, because what you buy will be replaced. And if the need arises, you will have helped the government to secure that enough food is everywhere available. If you wait until the emergency comes and try to make your purchases at the last minute, you will be making the government's task more difficult and will be taking food from your fellows. You will, in fact, be hoarding. To buy now is not to hoard, but to help. The purpose of this booklet is to translate the government's advice into practical terms. Now, it gives a list in here, and it's mostly tinned food and dried food, of what a family of 5, a man, a woman and 3 children, could be putting by for a week's supply of food. It even gives the cost. Now, some of the items on here are things like 8 pounds of corned beef, 4 pounds of salmon, treacle, pound of treacle, a pound of golden syrup, tinned tomatoes, sugar, cocoa, dried apricots, and items like lentils and beans, flour. It tells you how much to put by, but not only that, it gives you very good advice on how to store the food and also how to use it. It does include bacon in the list, and it advises that you buy a big smoked piece which should last for a good amount of time, or if you can get it, they recommend tinned bacon. I'll pop some of these items on my shopping list this week. The booklet also gives some sample recipes for using this emergency food. There's lentil and tomato soup or savoury batter, and blancmange for dessert, or even stewed prunes or apricots. Obviously, we can only really buy what we've got the funds to purchase, and some people won't be able to store extra food. but each week I've always tried to put a few pennies by and keep it in my mother's biscuit tin for emergencies, just such as this. I thought tomorrow for supper I'd give this lentil and tomato soup a try, so before I go to bed I'm just going to pop out and soak the lentils ready to use tomorrow. Here are the lentils soaked overnight. I'm going to strain them so they're ready to use. Here are the ingredients I'll be using today from my emergency food store. A small tin of tomatoes, some lentils, an onion and carrot, some flour, 1 ounce of dripping, a lot of water, some seasoning in the form of salt, pepper and some dried herbs, and bacon rind. Oh dear, you've caught me in my dust cap and smock. I've been doing a little bit of housework and I'm just having another bowl of lentil and tomato soup for lunch. It does make an awful lot, so if there are not many of you at home, do halve the recipe. But all these worries of Europe have been reminding me of the Archbishop of Canterbury's speech in the new year. He said, "We must hope for the best, but prepare for the worst." So after I've finished this delicious and heartening soup, I'm off out to my mother's union meeting. We're having a special discussion today on how best we can help these poor Eastern European refugees from Czechoslovakia. Oh, not with my dust cap on though. Chin up everyone.